Hello, my name is Arthur Mascarenhas, and today my teammates and I are going to talk about how we critically reviewed North Stradbroke Island and its tourism practices. As international students, we have been to a lot of tourist attractions, but this destination caught our eye. We wanted to visit this location to understand not only from a tourist perspective, but also as students studying environment and its sustainability. North Stradbroke Island, also known as Minjerba to its indigenous tribe, the Kwandamaka people, which is the second largest sand island in the world, covering an area of 275.2 kilometers square, which falls 30 kilometers off the shore of southeast Queensland. This subtropical island is made up entirely of sand with both rocky and sandstone outcrops. Minjerba is and has always been the rightful home of the Kwanmaka people for thousands of years. However, according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, in the year 2019, it has also become home to many more with an estimated population of approximately 2,300 people. Massive stresses causing an increase in land cover changes has been placed on the beach due to an influx of tourism over the recent years, combined with the long-term neglect of Cylinder Beach's foreshore, parkland and amenities by the Redland City Council. To begin with, I would like to talk about the attraction point, Dunwich. Dunwich is the only gateway to the island by ferry and water taxi, as shown in the image. Passenger and vehicle ferries regularly depart from Toondah Harbour for Dunwich. Dunwich has a range of cafes, shops, and services, even though it's a historical town with a rich heritage. Fun fact: in 1850, a quarantine station was set up at Dunwich for the settlers who flocked to the new colony. They had to stay at the quarantine station if they were sick so that they didn't infect people in Brisbane and elsewhere. In the year 1866, the quarantine station was closed and the buildings converted into the Dunwich Benevolent Asylum, which was Queensland's first dedicated home for the old, infirm, and homeless. As per the history of Amity Point, ships travelled to and from the penal settlement through the South Passage between Moreton and Stradbroke Islands. A pilot station was established at Amity Point in the year 1825. This was the beginning of permanent contact between Europeans and the Kwandamaka people in the region. Fishing was an important industry for the Aborigines and European residents, including dugong being caught for their oil. Amity Point is still home to fishing communities. The protected bay waters, as shown in the image, make the swimming enclosure a safe place for the kids to splash about or swim, and the rock wall on either side of the jetty is teeming with marine life and a vast array of fishes, which makes snorkeling a memorable experience. Amity Point, located in the northwestern tip of North Stradbroke, is a small seaside village that enjoys the beautiful sunsets over the bay. Amity Point is the smallest of the three residential communities on Stradbroke Island, the other two being Dunwich and Point Lookout, and its size gives it a unique laid-back charm, making it the perfect place for a restful break. Amity Point is an excellent destination to visit all year round, given the temperate climate and pleasant weather on a day-to-day basis. Local dolphins visit each day, and pelicans and koalas are seen in and around the campground. Point Lookout is popular for its magnificent surf beaches, land-based whale watching from the headland, beautiful North George Walk, retail shops, restaurants, and holiday accommodation with stunning views of the Coral Sea. The impressive North George Walk is one of the best land-based vantage points in Australia to see dolphins, turtles, manta rays from the months of November to February, and migrating humpback whales from the months of May to October. This is all from my side in regards to why the critical review was conducted and why we chose this tourist destination. Now I'd like to hand over to my next team member, Savina. Thank you.
Thank you, Arthur, for your wonderful insights. Moving along, following the SIMRAT structure for a field trip analysis, this structure helps to understand as to how and where the sustainability of PRISM can be used. What is Prism of Sustainability? Well, sustainability comprises of four dimensions: environmental, social, economic, and institutional or governance. Whereas for the governance or the political dimension indicator, proposals are still quite rare. For the former three-dimension indicators have been developed in abundance, although not necessarily sustainability assessment purposes. So today I will be talking about the governance, social cultural and environmental impacts in regards to a field trip to North Stradbroke Island. To begin with, I would like to talk about the governance of the political impact. Under the Redland City Council's existing planning scheme, 20 parcels are the conservation zones. If the changes are approved, most of these areas will be designated for low density residential and urban development. Following a native title determination in 2011, Kudamukka Yuluburabi Aboriginal Corporation, which is the QYAC, entered land use agreements with the state government and the Redland Council. The aim was to create housing for the Kudumbaka people as well as the cultural and the economic opportunities. Redland City Council recently undertook a 6-week public consultation from May 31st to 11th July 2022 on a series of city plan amendments on the North Stradbroke Island. The proposed planning scheme amendments seek to rezone approximately 25 lots, covering approximately 249 hectares at the land of Dunwich, Amity, and Point Lookout at the North Stradbroke Island from preliminary environment and conservation zoning to a mixture of new urban zones. Now I would like to talk about the socio-cultural impacts. The Kudummuka people's native title rights and interest over the land and waterways on and around the surrounding North Stradbroke Island, as well as some islands in the Moreton Bay, were recognized by two native title consent determinations issued by the Federal Court of Australia on July 4, 2011. Tourism business owners on the North Stradbroke Island off the coast of Brisbane argue that a $36 million tourism budget should be used for practical improvements like modern restroom facilities, beach showers, and footpaths rather than disputed projects like Whale on the Hill attraction. After sand mining on the land on the island ended in December 2019, the Economic Transition Strategy (ETS), now known as the Minjerribah Futures Program, aimed to shift the island's economic dependence from resources to cultural and ecotourism. However, the MFP has failed to do so and have been investing in an existing infrastructure. The QYAC is the body driving the project, a 3 million open-air structure to house a 15-meter eastern humpback whale skeleton that washed ashore in 2011. QYAC has previously said that the vision was for the skeleton installation to become a landmark tourism attraction as the only complete whale skeleton to be displayed in Australia. However, locals of the Kudummuka say that their views were not considered during this project and they do not support it. They believe that the heritage importance as well as the environmental importance of this place is significant and has to be preserved. Last but not the least are the environmental impacts. North Stradbroke Island has a very high real risk of bushfire, with majority of the island being identified as having a high bushfire risk. There is a significant level of residential development at each of the three townships of Dunwich, Amity Point, and Point Lookout that either adjoin or fall within the high to very high bushfire risk areas. At Amity Point, the risk areas to the east of the township and are in behind Flinders Beach, effectively surrounding the small Flinders Beach residential community and covering the Flinders Beach camping areas for the length of the Flinders Beach to Point Lookout. At Point Lookout, the areas on the inland side of the East Coast Road are the greatest risk, particularly the ridgeline areas along the Tramican and the Dunhoo streets that are crossed to the George Drive and are stretching further east to the Samarinda Way. The potential flooding on the North Stradbroke Island is primarily the result of tidal inundation that would be caused by a storm tide. The greatest effects would be felt to the north of the island from Amity Point along the Flinders Beach areas to Point Lookout. Current mapping indicates that during a storm tide event, the Amity Point community could possibly become isolated as a result of access roads being cut. Department of Environment and Heritage Protection have stated that there are 450 native animals on Stradi, most of which are international and 43 of which are either rare or threatened species. This makes it all important for all of us to protect the wildlife and allow visitors on Stradi to experience seeing a koala in the tree or a kangaroo nibbling some grass on the headland in the natural environment. Lastly, the four main threats to this amazing beautiful wildlife are car strikes, dog, cat, or fox predator attacks, habitat destruction, and fragmentation and fire. Thank you. That'll be from my side. Now my teammate Tanvi will talk about the results.
Hello. So after carrying out the analysis using the prism of sustainability model, these are some of the things that we have observed. First and foremost is the lack of signages. As you all know, this location is located near the ocean and koalas and kangaroos live here. It is very important that necessary signages are installed to inform and make the tourist aware of the things they need to follow or be cautious of. Thus, this not only helps us to ensure the safety and security of the tourist, but also no harm is caused to the environment. Next is safety and security. As you can see from the picture that there is a fallen tree and there are rocks, but there is nothing that can protect the tourist from certain mishaps. As a result, it is very important to install certain barriers or railings so that the tourists don't fall or injure themselves. For this, proper site management is necessary and proper practices and measures need to be followed and implemented. Next is land and soil degradation. As we were carrying out our analysis, we found out that the quality of the land or soil of the region is deteriorating. And two of the main reasons were like over tourism and the increase in ecological footprint. And as more and more tourists are like visiting the region and the region is getting commercialized, and because enough sustainability measures or practices are not being followed or implemented, the quality of the soil of the region is deteriorating, or we can say degrading, and thus it's making the region unsafe to carry out any further like tourism activities. Next, we are going to talk about loss of natural habitat, commercialization, climate change. As the popularity of a destination or a region starts increasing, more and more tourists visit the region and it starts getting popularized. This directly impacts the functioning of the region, like it affects its ecosystem, the biodiversity and the environment. As the region gets popularized, it starts getting more commercialized so that the tourists start visiting the region, and we try to adopt the changes so that we get more and more tourists, but this has a direct impact on the ecosystem or the environment or the natural habitat of the region. As more and more tourists start visiting, there are, because of the lack of signages, as I spoke earlier on, they don't know how to be aware, or they are not informed like how to behave in that certain environment. Like littering is not allowed, or you cannot harm any of the plants or trees. As you can see in the picture, this is all because of human intervention. And as more and more tourists start visiting the region, and water gets polluted or it harms the natural habitat, it leads to climate change. As you can see, in recent years, Stradbroke Island has faced major weather conditions like around the island, like extreme rainfall or like floods, or they had bushfires as well. So we can say that as tourism increases, it has an impact on the environment. So it is very necessary that we practice certain sustainability measures, or we implement certain rules or regulations so that the natural habitat and the environment of that region can be protected and be secured. After carrying out analysis and having a discussion, we feel like certain measures can be implemented so that tourism and environment activities can be carried out smoothly. First is tourism carrying capacity. A certain limit must be set on the number of tourists visiting the region at a particular given time. Next is site management and zoning. So if site management is carried out properly, then there will be no harm caused to the environment, as well as the tourist will enjoy their time at the particular region. and specific zones need to be allotted to carry out specific activities like fishing or like having a picnic or watching the whales, so that no harm is caused to the environment. Next is education and interpretation. Educational and interactive signages need to be installed so that the tourists understand the intricacies of the region and their responsibilities towards the region, so that tourism and environment activities can be carried out smoothly. Next is direct and indirect regulations. Certain rules, laws, regulations, and guidelines need to be established so that the tourists know their responsibility towards the region. And more and more sustainability measures need to be practiced and implemented. So to summarize and to conclude, we feel that more and more sustainability measures need to be practiced and implemented to carry out tourism and environment activities smoothly, so that no harm is caused to the natural habitat, the ecosystem, and the biodiversity. That is all from our side. Thank you very much.